What's up guys, Peepo again, and today's video is going to be about G3 mesh from StringersShack. Now this mesh is supposed to be a competitor against composite meshes. I guess you could say that it's supposed to go up against String King or anything like that, but it's just another option. It's not really to go against that brand or that specific type of mesh, and it doesn't really have to be that way. It doesn't have to be something that it's like this is going to be better than this is blah blah blah, but it's just another option out there that StringersShack wanted to put out there. And when Joe got in contact with me, Joe from StringersShack, he asked me to take a look at quite a few different things, but one of the main things was the G3 mesh, and it was a little bit skeptical on my part because I've had a lot of mesh, dozens of different kinds come through my hands to test out and give my critiques and everything like that. And I have to say that G3 mesh is probably very up there. It's definitely in my top 10 of meshes. Not necessarily ones that are my favorite, but ones that I think are definitely worth getting a hold of if you're looking for a very good mesh. If you actually had to compare this to anything, before I really get into talking about it, if you had to compare it to anything, I would say Ninjalack's Sensei mesh, because Sensei mesh is essentially uncoated. There's no wax, there's no polyurethane. It just goes through the textile mill, which is how they make your mesh. It goes through a big machine and then it just weaves it all together, and there's no bagging. I've gotten this wet, I've dunked it in a bucket, and I didn't experience any bagging, not really any change in performance per se. I did have to take out my shooting laces that I had in. I only had 2 straight laces in there under this nylon, and I only had to change that just because it wasn't quite feeling right to me, but it didn't really change the performance too much. I was hitting dimes before the water, and even after the water I was still hitting within a foot, 2 feet, just a 2 feet circle of where I was aiming, which in a lot of cases is very good for some people, but just something to think about for that. But there was no bagging, no change to the mesh. It was just the shooters really. So you got to try and get quality shooters and have a good setup to where weather isn't going to really affect that. But so getting right into the mesh is when the packaging, it actually came in a very clean package. It wasn't anything super elaborate. It just said G3 mesh, StringersShack, yada yada. So very subtle, pretty much what you get to pay for. And this mesh is actually $370 if I remember correctly. $370 for a piece of mesh that's supposed to compete against top of the line mesh that costs about 20 bucks. That just sets off all sorts of really good vibes for me. But so coming out of the packaging, it felt really nice. It didn't feel too soft, but it definitely didn't feel super hard or anything like that. It holds its shape pretty well. I'll give you just a little look at that. I wouldn't say really use it for face-offs. I mean, it could probably break in to where it would be usable for face-offs, whereas Sensei mesh will go right in through, but there's a lot of meshes out there that'll do that. G3 probably a decent face-off mesh, especially for the price that you're paying for it. But coming out of the packaging, it stretches really well. I didn't have any problems stretching it from one top hole, stringing it up all the way over to the other top hole, and that sort of thing for a stringer like myself just makes me happy. It wasn't too stretched to where this top hole, this part of the 9 diamond top would be a little too far over. Once I strung through the holes and actually through the mesh, it just lined up perfectly. There was no tugging to one side or anything like that. coming into the side walls, it's strung up very well for me. Then again, I love stringing up a burn, but didn't have any problem getting in one of my favorite patterns for a burn, which is just a mid shifty pocket, but stretches out nice, gets a nice channel. You guys can see that, and very nice pocket. I'm very satisfied with this, and I'll just show you what it kind of looks like rolling a ball through it. So yeah, strings up really nice, stretches. There's not a super amount of excess at the bottom. The only reason why I have these strings not cut is because I'm going to put other mesh in this, and this is pretty much my test head for a little while. But strings up really nice, doesn't really matter what strings that you're using. Takes shooters very well. Bottom strings aren't going to tear through this too easily. It's very, I guess you could say, thick, sturdy mesh, but it's definitely not super hard or anything like that. As of right now, I believe it only comes in white, which really isn't a problem. Most of the time, coaches are telling you to get white mesh anyway. But so, all in all, G3 mesh from StringersShack, I'd say get it. Get a piece of it. If you don't want to drop 20 bucks or more on a piece of mesh, and you want a decent piece of mesh, get it some G3. It's definitely worth having in your arsenal, and definitely worth checking out if you're trying to look for the perfect mesh for you. Not necessarily the perfect mesh overall, but I'm probably going to unstring this and string something else up to do a review and test out and stuff. But I'm more than likely going to put this back in at some point and keep it and use it. But so that's G3 mesh. If you guys feel that I needed to say anything else besides that it was consistent and everything like that, I mean, I didn't have any problems with the stringing, with the throwing, the catching, or anything. Rather soft catching, actually. But if you guys feel that I didn't answer any questions that you really needed to have answered, then leave it in the comments, and I usually try to answer them pretty well, or at least to the best of my ability, so that you guys get the information that you need. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and you know what? I've been noticing it a little bit. Go share the video. I've been getting a lot of shares lately. It's kind of interesting to see just how many people and what people share the videos. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll check you later.